Hi, people. Welcome to the 2 hours early Push to Shout podcast. I told Skippy, hey, why don't we do the podcast at 9:30 your time? Because I was being all clever and understanding and was going to tell him things in his time instead of mine. But I did it the wrong way. I'm kind of like a Michael J. Fox in that regard. So everything's fucked up, and it's all my fault. Skippy, how you doing today on this fine evening?
I'm alright. I had to clobber together everything.
Clobber? You clobbered it? Oh man,
yeah.
This is the Clobbercast. Welcome to the Clobbercast.
What do you got there? That looks nasty.
It's pretty nasty, but
What is
we'll see. I don't know what it is. I haven't tried it yet, but
okay.
We'll
it's
see.
Like you're drinking tar.
It kind of looks that way, doesn't it? It's some dark thing. But
very dark.
enough about dark things. We're not racialist here on Push to Shout. Skippy, how you been?
I've been alright. I've got a couple video games to talk about.
Okay, that's always good. That'll be a marked improvement over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
I have something to talk about too, so we are not lacking for content this week, thankfully.
I started playing Doom today.
Yes. Okay, so you finally got it,
It's
and
good. I finally got it at
you rubbed it in my
off.
face.
50% off.
The price, you shrewd businessman.
Because here a couple weeks ago, I was regretting not buying it 40% off, but I knew deep inside myself, even if consciously I couldn't figure out why, subconsciously I said, no. It'll probably be 50% off in about 2 or 3 weeks.
It was a very calculated decision, I understand.
It was. And so I got it. It's good. I've played a few hours of it. I don't know. There's not much to say about it, really. I have almost no complaints. I think the movement speed could be a little faster. I don't know. It's great. It's great.
With the haste, when you pick the haste up, that's
sure, yeah.
Oh man, it feels so
I like
good.
the upgrades so far. The upgrades feel like, it feels like you're working towards something, and it changes the way you play the game constantly. And I find myself using all the weapons that I've gotten so far.
Yeah. The ammo
equal.
feels balanced so that you have to use all your weapons, but you don't mind because they're all fun.
That like gives you ammo if you kill an enemy, but whatever.
The same thing happened with me. I didn't use the chainsaw very much until I got toward the very, very end when it started to get difficult. But yeah, for the most part, I didn't really touch the chainsaw. How far are you, would you say?
I think I've played like 2.5 or 3 hours. So I'm at like, God, what did I do last? I turned on the turbines to cool down the core, and then the lady opened the portal using the. I watched her through the window as she controlled things and opened a portal. She's very evil looking.
She is very evil. That's about all you need to know too.
People didn't realize that she was gonna open that portal. They probably should have, because she looks extremely evil.
I think that should be like factored into hiring decisions, but maybe it's like against the law or something.
I really like.
You can't discriminate based on evil appearance.
I really like the way the music like mutes when you go into the executes and stuff, and it's just a really good. It feels really good. That game's really good. So yeah, not much else to say about it really. You should play it. Everyone should play it. Oh, did you see?
I'm glad you're getting into it, because that's a great game.
The Quake trailer?
Which one?
The latest one, not the E3 one. But
what is the latest one?
Showed gameplay.
Oh no, I didn't see the gameplay trailer.
It's really good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it looks like Quake, and it looks super fast paced. It looks like what you would probably want out of a Quake game. I don't know that E3 was a little like, I don't know, what are they doing with this? Like,
they made it really look like an Overwatch clone. From the way they presented it, it seemed like a direct rip-off of Overwatch.
The way that maybe this trailer isn't a direct response to that, but like they didn't show any, from what I could tell, any like abilities or anything. It just looked like an arena shooter with people jumping way high up in the air and doing one-shot kills with the thingamajig, and it looks really good, to me at least. So yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm glad shooters are back.
That'll be the second time that my first impression of one of these Bethesda published shooters was wrong.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Bethesda, though, I do have one big complaint about Doom.
Okay.
So the first time I launched it, the Bethesda logo just
Same
starts to
thing.
come into frame,
Same thing.
freezes up, and then it gets a little further, gets a little further.
Yep. 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 Yep.
I
Yep.
tried
Exact
to
same
Alt
thing.
Tab, I tried to Control Alt Delete, I tried to Alt F4, I couldn't do anything. I tried to Control Alt Delete, it just black screened my whole computer.
Yep. Same thing.
Turn it off, turn it back on. Yep. And so I disabled the video intro, and then I just waited because I read online like, okay, you have to wait.
That doesn't work.
The black screen. I waited like 5 minutes, and you can't click the mouse, or it'll crash. No, it finally worked. It finally got me into the
really?
Main menu. I heard that updating your video driver
yes
also helps.
Yes, that was the first time in the history of time. So whenever anything goes wrong with a game where it like crashes on launch or something like that, the first piece of advice you'll hear, or the first thing posted on any like help forum, is always, did you make sure that your drivers are updated?
Yeah.
Make sure that you have the latest NVIDIA drivers. And that has never ever helped me in the past. Ever.
But at least it is an easy solution now with the GeForce experience and all that shit.
Yes.
The problem comes when they say you need to revert back to your old video drivers
well, that does
and see if that works.
But this was the first time that updating my drivers actually fixed a problem.
So there you go. Jesus Christ.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Doom.
It's a great game.
Okay. I also bought Dirt Rally, which is the latest sequel in the Dirt series.
The acclaimed
Dirt 1,
Dirt
2,
series.
And Dirt 3 fame. It kind of like, so Dirt, especially like Dirt 3, a lot of people complained about it because it started getting into the dude bro. I don't know why I'm saying dude bro, but it kind of does have that image of flat brim cap wearing fucking Gymkhana, man, and you're spinning around circles in the parking lot and shit. Which isn't Rally. That's Gymkhana or whatever. It's drifting and all that stuff. Rally is like,
I love
go from point A to point B.
Tokyo drifting? Do they have
trails.
that? No.
I'm talking about Dirt Rally, not drifting.
Tokyo dirt drifting.
Not Gymkhana.
Oh.
Just dirt. So A to B on a tough section of trails and tracks and all sorts of different kinds of surfaces like dirt and pavement and ice and snow and mud. It's a simulator. It's very realistic.
Is there gravel?
There's gravel.
Okay,
and
I'm sold.
It's a very, very, very good game. I like it a lot. I've been kind of wanting a good rally game for a while now because I like the concept of rally, but nobody's ever, like I said, like with Dirt 3, it's either the rally courses are way too short, where it's like you get through them in like a minute and a half when they should be like 10 minutes, or they just focus on the parking lot shit, which I have zero interest in. So yeah, this is a very realistic thing, and the tracks are even like the courses are based on real courses where you can actually like just when I was playing it, I recognized it from the little bit of rally that I've watched on YouTube and stuff. It's like, oh, I recognize these sections, and it's got the navigator in your head saying like right 4 over crest into left 2 and da da da, and you have to listen to it because there'll be like blind hairpins and stuff that would catch you by surprise if you weren't listening. There's no like mini map or anything to show you what's coming up. It's pretty serious. And the best part is now my dad has the full racing wheel, pedals, and Oculus setup, and this is a VR enabled game, and it is incredible on that setup. It is so fucking cool. It's amazing. I can't even describe how awesome it is.
Are you sold on VR yourself now?
I'm sold on VR to the point where I think in the next coming months I'm going to spend an obscene amount of money on VR and
Are you gonna go for the Vive?
And all that shit. I would probably go for the Vive just because, like, all right, I'm willing to spend a couple $100 to get the full experience, but because there's so much stuff that he's missing out on. Well, he doesn't give a shit. He just wants it for his racing games. But there's so much stuff that I'd like to try that I can't because you need the controllers or the room scale. But yeah, the main thing really is just the racing games are amazing on it, and there's one destination in the game that in particular, Finland, where it's like really, really high speed and full of jumps, and it's really slick too. So you're just constantly counter steering and going over jumps, and it made me almost sick.
That sounds so exciting in VR.
And it was so awesome. I can't even. There's no way I can describe how awesome it is, especially if you're like into that kind of shit where you're counter steering and going around corners and stuff. It's hard as hell too, though. Like you have to, it takes some getting used to for sure. But yeah, it's fucking awesome. I'm sold on it pretty much. Yeah, for that kind of game, especially VR is awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much my week. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention I watched this last week, but it kind of has a relation to Rally. There's I think I tweeted it a couple weeks ago. This is not video game related. There is a yearly event in Austria at this huge abandoned iron ore mine. The kind where they just dug down into a mountain and it's just like it looks like a quarry basically. And it's a dirt biking endurance race, I guess, where people from all over the world, literally I think there were like 1,500 contestants last year. They go and they qualify, and it narrows it down to 500 riders, and it puts them all in a big group, and they release them in waves of like, I don't know, 40 or 50 riders at a time, maybe even more than that. And
they call them riders?
I don't know what you fucking call them. What would you call them?
Drivers?
Racers? Well, you don't drive a bike. I guess you do.
Okay.
You ride a bike.
They're bikes,
dirt
okay.
bikes.
That's right.
No,
I the only reason I mentioned it is because I thought you were calling, like, race car drivers riders.
No,
so,
they're not
okay.
riders, they're drivers. So anyway, they all launch at the same time, and they have to go up these, like, really, really difficult hills, and what inevitably happens is someone up in the front of the group falls or gets stuck, and everyone behind them gets held up trying to get by him and stuff. And it is the most entertaining thing I've ever watched, where you're just seeing, it looks like, so if you watch like their GoPros and stuff, it looks like a scene out of a war film or something where like they can't see what's going on around them, and you'll just see like bodies, like legs,
man,
and stuff, like sticking up out of the dust, and it looks incredible. I'll link some videos after this where it's just like, it looks absurd. And out of like 500 people, I think 5 finished last year, and only because they started helping each other.
Oh wow!
It's like really, really intense stuff.
Do people die? Like
no, but they do get injured.
Okay.
But it is intense. So I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting. It was really funny to watch, especially like just the first few hills where I think I'm not sure, but I think that narrows down like most of the contestants like can't get over the first section. And it's just so chaotic because they're all coming at once, and it's just a huge group of people trying to get up the same little narrow hill. Very entertaining. It's called Erzberg, and the race itself is like a Red Bull sponsored thing called I forgot what it's called, but it's a Red Bull thing. Yeah, I highly recommend, even if you have zero interest in that kind of thing, I highly recommend looking up some videos of it, because it's the kind of thing where it's like, I can't believe this actually exists. But yeah, that's it. That's it for me. How about you? What's been going on with you?
You know, I got a lot, and I'm gonna start small and work my way up. Okay. So the first thing is my encounter with death.
Oh.
In this very room here. Okay. I was about to go to sleep one night, and I saw a fucking hornet perched on my wall, just chilling there.
Are you allergic to hornets?
I'm not. But everybody fucking hates hornets, and when one is in your room, that's awful.
Yeah.
So I try to get the drop on it.
Not necessarily close to death.
Well, it's death. It's worse. I pick up my magazine, roll it up, and I am trying to take this thing out. And it flies out from under the magazine, stings all my fucking arm, and then I am just flipping out. Like, I am, like, breakdancing on my fucking bed, like, whipping around with my magazine, trying to kill this thing. And then I run out of my room, shut the door, and wait for the dust to settle. So I come back in, and I see it perched on my lamp over there. I sneak up on it. I perch on the bed like a little, like, squatting tiger, crouching dragon, whatever that is. And I wait for it to expose itself, and I start beating the shit out of my lampshade. And I could tell that I hit it, but I couldn't find the body. And so then I was up until 5 in the morning, just scanning around, looking for this goddamn hornet. And then finally I found it under the lip of the lamp, like in the most inconspicuous spot. I finally found it, and so I found some Windex, and I
The classic.
I did some Holocaust experiments on it. I ammoniaed. It was.
I see the Windex over there behind you. Actually.
You do? Yeah, yeah.
Just in
That's
case.
what I used. That's what
Just
I
in
used.
case.
No, not just in case. That was the nuclear option, but I took it out.
I was on a screen porch, and there was a Hornet in the screen porch, just sitting on the screen. And I was lucky enough. There was a racket there that is electrified specifically for this kind of purpose.
That's great.
It's got little.
I wish I had that.
Metal bars going across. It looks like a tennis racket. And you press a button, and you can hear it go and like charge up when you press the button.
I wish I had that.
And I just kind of slowly descended on the Hornet as it was sitting on the screen, and I just made contact. And then, of course, the screen is metal, so it just like and it starts like smoking. It was very satisfying.
I wish I had that.
It was kind of cruel and evil, but also
it's not evil.
Really
it's a goddamn worthless insect whose only purpose is to inflict pain and poison.
It looked like a really awful death.
Well,
but you gotta do what you gotta do. I highly recommend those rackets. They actually do work.
Okay, I'll look into that. So anyway, that was the night before I went on a day-long, like day-and-a-half stargazing trip. My little brother is super my little brother's super into like space and stuff.
Me too.
And yeah. He's all into Kerbal Space Program. That's what got him into it actually. And then he started actually getting into like real like stargazing stuff. Yeah. And so he was taking a class over the summer just to get college credit, like an astronomy class, and his professor lent him like a heavy-duty telescope.
Nice.
And it was the weekend, and he suggested that we drive out into the middle of nowhere, like in northern Pennsylvania, so like 6 hours north of me, just driving out there into the mountains to look at stars. And I figured, you know what, that actually sounds cool. So we did. And we went like 5 hours north. We checked into a hotel and then kept going like 2 more hours north into like these mountain passes. And it was almost pitch dark at this point. And we got like a mile away from the state park that we were supposed to be at. Road closed.
Oh.
And that was the only path to the place. And then we tried to go around to like this alternate path. That road was closed too. I don't know what the hell was going on. The only detour,
or something.
Who knows? The only detour at that point would have been 5 more hours of driving, and I would have actually ran out of gas up on those mountains. And that was one of those places. You know what? I generally think that there's no reason for people in the United States to own a gun, that there's no legitimate reason to have one. But when I was out there, I figured I have no cell service at all. Anything could happen to me. There could be a fucking mountain lion, or somebody could just step over that highway divider with a mask and a hatchet. And you know what? I really would have felt better with the 44 in my pocket.
There are people who go hiking and camping by themselves, unarmed. There's
That's
no
insanity.
way I'd be able to do that without a gun. I would
That's
bring
insanity.
a gun. There's just it is insanity. I'm very familiar with the back roads of Alabama, and I don't own a gun, but I
get it now.
I understand.
That's the only reason. When you are out there, you need something to make you feel like
even if you're in some amount of civilization, when you're out that far, police are
anything could happen to you.
You just have to hope that you have cell phone range. It's a little spooky.
Yes.
But stargazing's awesome. I do it all the time.
So I was driving all around these mountains, trying to find a place to like get a clear look at the stars, because it was all in these forested mountain passes and you couldn't see much except for straight up. And while I was driving around, I found one of the weirdest sights I've ever seen in my life. And it was there weren't many like houses, and there was like one small town that we passed through at some point, but other than that it was mostly barren, just trees. But driving through, there's a church and a cemetery, and this is pitch black. The whole reason we're going out there is because it's so dark. Pitch black of night. This cemetery is aglow. Every tombstone has like a dim purple light on it. And some of them have like sickly green lights on them too.
Okay.
It was an entire field of graves lit up dim, ghastly purple. It was fucking creepy. I have no idea why someone would do this or why this would be this way.
The graveyard at night?
It was genuinely chilling. Anyway, so we drive up, and eventually we just have to park like on the edge of a cliff with no guardrail, and there's wolves howling all around, and it's a real fun time. But it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I could see the Milky Way, like the actual dusty cloud band of the Milky Way. I'd never seen that before. Really incredible. There's nothing like that.
Yeah,
really fantastic experience.
I went on a 6-day backpacking trip in like the mountains of like Iowa.
Yeah,
and real high up. And when it gets night and it's a clear night, you can see it's astounding.
It really
the amount of stars that you can see. Another really cool thing that people don't realize about, and you don't need to be that far out of a city to really see this kind of stuff. You can look up at the right times of night and see satellites. They're very common. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I think it's so much fun to like look for satellites and watch them go across the sky. And I even have an app where you're like, it doesn't have all the satellites in it, but you can generally track the satellites and see what they are. And most of them are rocket bodies. But then there's like defunct Soviet satellites and stuff
that's cool.
That are just floating around up there. It's really, really neat. I love doing that.
So me and my brother, we got back to our hotel. We were staying up there overnight. After all that driving around looking for alternate routes, we got back with like critical levels of gas.
Yeah.
If we had ran out of gas up in those mountains, I think we would have been actually fucked. Like I would not have known what to do. Anyway,
the podcast would be over.
Interesting experience.
I'd carry on.
Okay. So yeah, that's real life stuff. On the shitty media that no one cares about. So I finished Master of None. Yeah, I love toys. I finished Master of None with Aziz Ansari. I underestimated that show. I started out, it seemed like it was just a dumb ripoff of the show Louie with Louis C.K. Except he's even more of a pussy and it's less funny. I'm glad I stuck it through. It's not as good as Louie, but it's genuinely entertaining. And Eric Wareheim of Tim and Eric proved that he can be a legitimately good director in one of the episodes. He directed one, and it's great. So yeah, it was a worthwhile show, I'd say. And then, okay, here's a video game. On to actual video games.
The toys for children.
Yes, the toys. I know this is the toy unboxing segment. I know you've all been pumped. Just before we did this, I streamed the new Telltale Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really surprised. This is the best thing they've made in a while.
Oh, really?
It's the best thing since Walking Dead Season 1. Easily.
Okay.
I enjoyed everything about it. Especially the opening scene. It felt like exactly what... They understood what Telltale games are strong at, which is the kind of like detective part of Batman, where he's kind of walking around and examining a scene. Right. That kind of thing. Because it's more scripted than something like Arkham City or Asylum, it's able to make the actual detective work and connecting the clues more interesting. And that was great. And one of the things I noticed about the QuickTime events, in Telltale games are generally just irritating because they're just like a device that they use to get through action without having to program any gameplay, where you just advance it one thing at a time. But when they did the fight scenes in this, not only did they keep the choreography interesting, but it felt like a comic book in the way where there's these panels where it's like thwam, thwack, pow, ka-choo, like each scene was one little impact, and it was very well done. And more so than everything they've made, period, it felt like it had the production value to make it work. This was by far the most polished game they've made. And it's not like a fantastically polished experience when you compare it to most other things made.
They're still using their shitty old engine,
they still
right?
are.
God.
But
damn.
it has some noticeable polish applied to it, and that's really all it needed to make it, you know. You can tell that they put effort into it, and I think part of that is just because the franchise Batman is so huge that they had the money to do something like that. And it's not something like Game of Thrones where they can get away with just shitting something out because it's popular. Batman has been around forever, and so you actually need a quality Batman product to stand out from the rest of Batman.
There's been a lot of bad Batman
exactly. People look at Batman vs Superman and they're like, "This is terrible," and that sticks with the product. So yeah, I think it's good. Who knows? It could just be the classic Telltale curse of they invest all their effort into the first episode, wait like 7 months before releasing episode 2, and then just shit out the rest of the season. Who knows? But very promising start. The most fun I've had with a Telltale game since The Walking Dead season 1. Very excellent start to that.
Cool. Okay.
So that's about all the games I played. I mean, I've played some more Terraria, more Rhythm Heaven, more Majora's Mask, but nobody cares about that. We've talked about that.
Nope.
What's there to say? What's
Nothing.
there to say, pal? No Man's Sky actually came out last week. I was under the mistaken impression. Wait, am I wrong again?
It hasn't actually come out.
It still hasn't come out?
Still hasn't come out.
Fuck! One of these weeks, I'm going to say that No Man's Sky came out, and I'll be right.
It'll be next week.
Okay.
It comes out... Well, it's complicated.
Oh, God.
I think it comes out midnight Tuesday morning. But just a couple days ago, Sean Murray, the director of the game, tweeted, "Sorry, PC people, there's going to be... you're going to have to wait until the 12th. It'll come out on the 12th. Even though Steam has been saying it's coming out on the same day as the PS4. And there's been a lot of people I've seen on Twitter and stuff saying, "Oh, get over it. It's only a few days. No big deal. Whatever."
It matters. When you care about the game...
Exactly. But first of all, when you care about a game, it sucks just a few days before release to be told, "Oh, you have to wait a few more days." But also, the nature of the game being the focus on discovery and exploration means when all the PC player base is going to be playing days later than the PS4 people, it's like that excitement of like all going into the universe at once and exploring it is kind of ruined, at least to me. It just makes it much less interesting. Plus, on top of that, this is really bad. A retailer in New York, and I think some other retailers as well, started selling copies of the game last week, even though it wasn't out yet. They just started selling them, and so like a bunch of people have the game. Kotaku and Polygon just went out and bought copies of it and started streaming it on their sites. I mean, people have their hands on the full game right now. They don't have the day one patch or whatever, but they've been streaming it. Some of the streams have been shut down by Sony. Some of them haven't. It's just a disaster. And people, and then of course the game itself, people are looking at it and saying,
that's what matters most to me.
Great. It seems like kind of what most people probably expected out of the game, which is like, oh, it's just kind of a very shallow...
Explore space, not much to do.
Explore space, you can craft some stuff or whatever, collect resources, that kind of thing, but other than that, it's just an exploration game, which is what I've been saying all along. Don't get your hopes up for anything more than that. I don't know. That's where, I mean, it still seems cool. It seems about what I would expect the game to be. But now I'm not sure I'm going to get it, because it's like, to me, the whole appeal of that game was going to be like, oh, everyone jumps in at the same time and explores.
But if the game...
And now it's like...
I think that if the game was anything worthwhile, you would still be wanting to play it right now.
Well, true. Well, that's part of it, is that, like, I was already tentative about the $60 price tag for... It just doesn't look like a $60 game to me. But that, like, when it was first revealed, I always thought like, oh, that's a $40 game right there. But yeah, I don't know. The hype has completely worn off for me, and I think in large part just because of the leaks and the delay.
That
Just
seems
kind
like
of sucks.
one of the biggest shames about this is that it was so visually appealing that it managed to get as popular as it has.
Yeah.
I don't think this is like Star Citizen, where if I don't want to put us in. I know that all the lawyers have been listening ever since the Life
my
is Strange
God.
debacle, but just for all the lawyers listening right now, allegedly, Star Citizen is a complete fucking scam with actually malicious intent, possibly.
I still don't think there's malicious intent, but it's I think
Amoral
it's an unintentional
intent.
scam. Yeah, I don't know.
I think though that No Man's Sky, I don't think they ever misrepresented that game. I don't think they ever overpromised either.
There's some very specific things that people have pointed out of like, oh well, this is different in the final game, and I wish it was the way that he originally said it was. But we're talking about like really specific shit, like, oh, he said only 10% of the planets would have like life and vegetation and stuff on them, but now almost all the planets do.
Oh.
And it's like, okay,
those are like decisions,
it's not,
right?
Yeah, those are very small.
It's
things.
not like they intended to do this and then fell short. That's a decision. But it seems like it got so popular because of the aesthetic appeal that people built it up to be something that it couldn't possibly live up to.
People definitely did, yeah. And whenever you've got a game that's claiming, oh, you know, so many different planets and you know, the possibilities
bajillions of planets. Yeah. Bajillions of unique planets.
Yeah, and it's true, there are, but that doesn't mean that the game itself is going to keep you going for so long that you're going to explore a ton of planets. You know, I mean,
the best part,
all right.
The best part about No Man's Sky, though, is that it's not a three-dimensional galaxy. It's a straight line through the universe to the center.
Some weird stuff about that.
You know what? You explore like a tube of the universe down to the center, and that reminds me of a Tim and Eric sketch called The Universe, where they're talking about the universe, and one of the things Tim Heidecker says in there is, if you put the universe into a tube, you would end up with a tube twice the size of the universe. And so, you wouldn't want to put the universe into a tube. No Man's Sky, we have a tube universe. Finally, people.
They did it. Yeah, I've heard some really weird stuff about how like the metagame is handled. That seems really bizarre and unappealing.
I haven't heard about that stuff. What do you mean?
Well, just the fact that like apparently it is like almost like a linear progression. Instead of like being able to explore the galaxy, you're really just kind of making your way forward. And then like I think there's actually multiple galaxies, and once you jump to the next galaxy, you can't backtrack to the previous galaxy.
Oh,
like,
really?
You just have to keep going
You can't
forward.
go back?
It just seems. I mean, this is all anecdotal information that I'm gathering, but like, it just seems completely bizarre. Yeah, there's some really weird design choices that are being made apparently. But yeah, the game still looks. I think the art style and just the way it looks is still amazing. It looks really fun to explore and find the different kinds of planets, and like there's cave systems and everything. But the fully randomized stuff can only keep your attention for so long. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I was one of those people that played Minecraft and would just like choose a direction and go and find cool cave systems and formations.
I love that stuff.
And, yeah, that stuff is really entertaining. So it seems like from that perspective, No Man's Sky, you know, delivers that experience. But yeah, people hyped it up to be something it isn't, and that's kind of a shame. But I think the biggest shame is just that the community experience of discovering the game is just completely trashed.
And of course,
it's just a disaster.
Then what makes it even sadder is the reaction of the devs. It's not unexpected, their reaction, but they said something like, "Oh, don't form your final opinion of the game based on this early copy.
The day one patch is coming out." Yeah.
God, just why would you shouldn't have to defend it that way.
Yeah, and how much they always like it's like people who when the beta comes out and everyone's trashing the beta, people are like, "Well, it's only a beta." motherfucker, it's coming out in a month. They're gonna make bug changes, and then it's gonna be out. And most of the bugs that are in the beta are still gonna be in the release. It's that kind of thing where it's like, yeah, you're seeing the final game. There's no way they're changing it significantly.
One of the things about just to loop back a little bit, when you described how you would walk off in a direction in Minecraft and just see what's out there to see, one of the things that made that so interesting in Minecraft is that you could then like tame that environment, that you could find this really cool,
you could find a home,
exactly, like you could find a valley with a waterfall in it, and you could say, you know what, I'm gonna carve out my house behind that waterfall, and I'm gonna make a glass face that gets me this awesome view of the valley, and I'm gonna set up my home inside this mountain here. And you know, you could, whatever you found, you could then like turn into your own thing. That's kind of the entire appeal. It's not just about seeing the sights, it's about situating yourself in the sights afterward. And No Man's Sky doesn't seem to have any element like that. You just keep driving through to the center, and along the way you're just blowing past different procedurally generated planets and organisms and colors, and that just isn't all that compelling at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think it could be compelling if they had some kind of system with a lot of depth where you're looking for specific things, and it's like, oh, you find a planet that has the resource that you've been needing desperately.
Yeah.
That could kind of fulfill that gap.
But what do you need it for is the question.
Exactly, and it doesn't seem like the game has that deep of a system to actually keep you engaged in that way. Although I do think, again, from what I've seen read, it seems like a lot of the people streaming it were just blowing through the game as quickly as possible. Like, oh, we're going to get to the center as quickly as possible, and so we're just going to do the quickest progression and not spend any time. And so, like, that's obviously
just sad.
A bad way to experience the game, and so I think a lot of people were getting a bad impression based on that. But yeah,
the trouble is, what else is there to experience than that, other than taking more time to look at the sights and experience the sounds?
I think it would be worth getting at a lower price, but $60, you expect a lot more from $60, and it doesn't look like it delivers. I kept forgetting that it was a full $60 product. It just didn't. It never felt that way to me. It always felt $40 or $30 to me. So
are you gonna get it?
It's a shame. Probably not.
Man, you were just saying last week that you were gonna get it.
That I was definitely gonna get it, but that was before the leaks, before the delay.
That makes me sadder than any of this. At least you were the golden optimist.
I don't want to give the wrong impression. I liked talking about the game, but I was never super hyped up about that game. You know, the thing that game did correctly originally was it debuted its trailer on the worst video game awards show in history, which is saying a lot. It was surrounded by garbage that nobody gave a shit about. And then all of a sudden there was this beautiful little indie game with a wonderful art style and a really cool promise. And it was this huge moment. And you could go back on my Twitter, and I was freaking out about it because it was like, finally something out of all, like a diamond in the rough out of all this shit. But then, it takes years
you're making me sad.
It just doesn't. It doesn't. It's not that it doesn't live up to what it promised. It's that it became a mythos that wasn't accurate to what it actually is.
This isn't even a game I was all that interested in, but it's a game I wanted to be good. I really wanted this game to be really good.
And who knows? I mean, here's the thing.
It's not out.
I'm still seeing people freaking out online about, like, oh, it's a disaster, it's the biggest disappointment of the year, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't seem like that. It just seems okay. It just seems kind of middling and not great, not terrible, just kind of a thing that exists. I mean, I don't know.
Will you get it on sale?
It's definitely not going to be a disaster.
Will you get it on sale?
Maybe. It just depends on. I'm gonna read reviews and that kind of thing, and just see what's up. Because it looks neat. It looks neat, but not necessarily cool enough. Again, like, the thing about getting it on sale is that would be after the buzz of the release, where what I was expecting to be the buzz of release, where people were sharing their screenshots and saying, "Oh, look, here's the planet that I started on. Isn't it cool?" And that kind of thing. That would have added to the value of the game so much for me, and that's what I was most excited about, is like the community aspect of it and sharing stuff and seeing what other people are experiencing, and that's ruined by just a few people getting it and streaming it, and then it's basically going through like a really slow release, and it ruins all that buzz that would have been really fun to follow. So that's just super disappointing. I wish it was released in a better way.
Well, speaking of reading reviews, I have not been reading the reviews for the image on this week's podcast, Suicide Squad.
Oh.
It's out, baby!
Yeah.
Finally! The best movie... oh, no, I'm not going to watch that. No. I have been waiting for this for too long.
You don't need to watch.
Exactly! I am so excited to see this. I really hope it's as bad as I am wanting it to be. Like, God,
I thought you were going to keep going with the bit. I thought you were going to be saying that, you got to ignore the reviewers. The reviewers are just
no. This is not a bit.
Warner Brothers, or not Warner Brothers.
Ever since the beginning, since day one, when Jared Leto came out on stage as his trademark Joker, and he said, "This is how we were introduced to this Joker character." He came out on stage and said, "Shut the fuck up, or I'm gonna fucking kill you!"
Oh, God, I can't believe that.
Scary Joker. And everything since then, all the fake stories published by Sony about, like, Jared Leto mailing rats and... God. And then, like, Viola Davis saying, like, I didn't meet the real Jared Leto until he was done being the Joker. God, I'm so excited. I just really hope this is as terrible as I want it to be.
I actually did see I was about to say I haven't seen any of the DC movies, but I did see the Superman movie, the original Superman movie, and God, it was just really mind-numbing.
Do you mean Man of Steel?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was awful.
Not a good movie. I don't think, even out of morbid quick curiosity, I don't think I'm going to see Suicide Squad.
Oh, I'm definitely seeing Suicide Squad.
It's just like, from the impression that I get, is it's not bad enough to be so bad it's good.
All I need is Jared Leto's Joker. That's all.
Apparently,
once he's on the screen, even if he's on there for 5 minutes, that's all I need.
He does not feature very prominently in the movie.
I just need him to show up and go, because that's the very scary Joker laugh that he has. Oh man, what a character, what a card. I can't believe we live in this world where this scary Joker is running amok.
There's a couple friends that I have who were very excited about this movie, and that couple of days where the reviews were starting to come out and the early screenings were happening and people were saying, "Oh, it's not very good." The backlash that got was intense.
Oh yeah. The petition to take down Rotten Tomatoes because the review score was so low.
People think that like Marvel has like made a monopoly on the movie industry, and that like DC can't get its foot in the door because Marvel's holding them back. And it's like, what the fuck does Marvel have to do with Zack Snyder making bad movies?
Exactly. Wait, did he direct this one too?
I don't think he directed this one, but it's. But Zack Snyder encompasses everything about what we've seen about DC.
Exactly.
So far.
What a terrible choice.
Really hard and like all style, no substance.
It's not even good style though, which is the biggest problem.
It's a style. And they think that's sufficient.
It's a bad style.
It is.
It's a very bad style. It worked with 300 in... When did that come out? Like 2006?
2000. Like, yeah, it was like from early 2000s.
That was ancient. That was one of the first like big old memes back then.
Yes,
was the "This is Sparta"? Remember that?
Yes, I do remember that.
I
saw one of those
classic.
Memes used unironically in the last week.
"This is Sparta."
Mm-hmm.
Really? What was the context? Where did you see this corpse?
I saw it scroll by. I think I was checking Facebook or something, and I saw it scroll by. my eyes glazed over before I could read the text or anything. But it was the meme text over his face screaming, and the person who posted it and knew that it couldn't be, tongue in cheek. People are still doing that.
So Boone in the chat here just said, "The Dark Knight didn't even feel like Batman. It felt like some action thriller."
I agree. Except for
what does Batman feel like?
I don't know. I mean, it just
exactly. Batman is nebulous enough and old enough, and has been done in so many different ways that each new thing is like a new spin. But Superman,
I appreciate the Dark Knight for doing something different with Batman, but I feel like it didn't capture, except for Batman Begins, it didn't capture. Batman to me should have a dark feel about it. Gotham City
Dark
is
Knight
supposed
had
to be
that.
like. It did, but it didn't feel right. I don't know. Gotham City didn't feel like the right kind of.
That is true. I'll say that in the Dark Knight, Gotham felt more like Chicago than Gotham. Like Batman Begins, Gotham felt like Gotham.
Yeah,
but
it was fucking dark and grimy. And
everything else was better in Dark Knight.
I mean, yeah, Dark Knight was really great. It was great. It's a really good movie. But
it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's
anyway,
against those movies.
My only point there is that in the Dark Knight, Batman can be done with a new twist and still maintain something essential. Superman, up until Man of Steel, where he just starts breaking necks, there is no other twist on Superman. He's just the good guy. He's a really nice fella. He loves to do the right thing.
He's the worst superhero.
Superman is awful. What a terrible character.
He's the worst.
He has historical significance, but
DC's biggest problem is that they don't have any interesting characters except for the ones in Batman. They should just stick to Batman.
The Joker and Batman are the two best DC characters by far.
Yeah, they should just stick with Batman. Period.
Because
everything else is stupid.
I must have talked about it. This would have been several months ago, but I read The Killing Joke a few months ago.
Is that the graphic novel?
It's the graphic novel by Alan Moore, who wrote.
I think you might have actually mentioned
who wrote Watchmen. I'm pretty sure I did.
Maybe I was talking to someone else.
But it's irrelevant now. Anyway, Alan Moore is an incredible comic writer. V for Vendetta, Watchmen, which is one of the greatest ever. And he wrote one story for Batman called The Killing Joke. And The Killing Joke is the best piece of Batman content I have ever encountered, and probably will stay that way forever. Just beautiful. It's honestly incredible. It's compact. It's not a graphic novel that goes on forever. Watchmen is pretty epic in its scale. That is hundreds and hundreds of pages. Killing Joke, you can read it in a sitting easily, and it is so well worth it. Just really cuts straight to like Batman, Joker, what they're about, and honestly, one of the best. I don't read comics really, so I can't speak on this with much authority, but
yeah.
It seems probably like some of the best there is to offer there.
Yeah.
Really, really great stuff. I recommend The Killing Joke to anybody. That is genuinely fantastic.
Okay. Cool.
What else? What else is going on?
I've got one other news thing. I don't know if it's worth even mentioning. The Xbox One S is officially released. It's the slim Xbox.
It's already out?
Yeah.
I feel so out of touch with video games lately.
I mean, but it's not like who cares? You know.
I guess so. Yeah.
It's only a smaller Xbox. Like, it's apparently more powerful, but not to the point of mattering. And I don't think it maybe it outputs at 4K if you're streaming video. But other than that, it's just not really anything significant about it.
Is it actually called the Scorpio?
No, the Scorpios. So that's the confusing thing about their marketing, that they really fucked up in E3.
The 1S is the slim thing.
Exactly, and the Scorpio is something different that has yet to be really fully fleshed out. But the thing I was surprised about the Xbox One S is I was watching an unboxing video.
God, that is among the worst content in the world. Is unboxing videos.
Someone compared the size of the Xbox One S to the size of the Xbox original. And I was thinking, oh, it'll be like half the size probably. It is barely smaller than the original Xbox, the big one, the VCR.
I had that. I had an original Xbox.
I did too.
That was
fun.
Yeah. I was thinking back because I saw a couple things. I saw footage of a work-in-progress Xbox 360 emulator. They've made some pretty substantial strides lately. Emulation is really, 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 really hard. And
last time I checked, I think Xbox 360 is easier to emulate. They're still struggling with the Xbox original.
They are. Well, it's also there's no drive to make it happen on the Xbox original. Because really, what else... What do you want to play exclusively on the Xbox that you can't play elsewhere? Exactly.
Anyway.
The only thing I can think of is Jet Set Radio Future. And really, what's the drive there to motivate an entire emulation development project?
Counterpoint, Crimson Skies.
I haven't heard of that. So.
The most underrated game of the last decade.
Which is the problem. It's not enough to motivate an emulation project.
You're right, but it's a great game.
Anyway, I saw a work in progress of a 360 emulator. And... they have it running at like relatively full speed. It's terrible frame rate, but it's kind of playable. I saw them playing Sonic Unleashed.
Oh, nice choice.
That is honestly hilarious footage that they got.
Classic Xbox title.
His eyes, Sonic's eyes and head are just completely fucked up and all over the place. Hilarious to watch.
Did I tell you about the guy who showed up?
Go ahead. I
did a July 4th weekend trip to someone's lake house, and one of the people showed up. We've always had Nintendo 64 down there with Smash and tennis and kart. Someone showed up with a cartridge with a SD card in it, and it had every single Nintendo 64 game on it. And it wasn't an emulation, it was like the real games, so they weren't all wonky or anything. Amazing. Want one now.
Yeah, those would be really cool to play them natively. Anyway, the thing worth mentioning, and the most recent development, is finally, after much, much effort, they managed to get Red Dead Redemption.
Oh!
I'm putting this in air quotes,
I bet that
scare
runs
quotes.
like shit.
It is, you could barely even call it running.
Yeah.
But they got it to display some images with completely fucked up textures. But they got it barely running, which is, it sounds like nothing, but it's a massive step.
From what I've heard of like how it's made on the Xbox or how it runs on the Xbox, like Red Dead should be one of the harder ones.
Yes.
Like one
it
of
has
the hardest.
very, maybe the hardest.
Because people are saying that like to port it to the PC would be a huge undertaking because of how it's coded or whatever.
It has very specific optimizations even for the 360. Like the PS3 version ran at like 640i resolution, and I guess progressive scan it could do too, but the Xbox ran it at 720 vertical lines of resolution, and it had some very specific optimizations for that console. So that's like the ultimate test in 360 emulation, and they seem to be making a genuine crack at it.
I can't believe we were dealing with 720p resolution back then.
That was basically the standard. They advertised HD, but that was the standard resolution games ran at.
The Xbox 360 had like an option that you could switch between 720 and 1080, but for the large majority of games, it didn't make any difference. I can't believe we dealt with that shit, because 720, like playing a PC game at 720 would be a nightmare to me right now.
A lot of it's the distance. Being far away from the screen makes it a lot less noticeable. But when you do have a higher resolution game running, it's almost as noticeable how much better it looks.
It's very noticeable,
It's just more like acceptable if it's low resolution like that. But I remember one of the first like super high res 1080p is not super high res. I'm not trying to exaggerate anything
It's good
here.
enough.
But, like, Bloodborne on my PS4 on my TV was one of the first, like, 1080p baller-ass looking games I've played. And that was really something. To move from, like, PS3 to that, really cool looking. It was a real snazzy looking game.
Yeah.
A real sharp looker, I'd say. Yeah.
It's the future, finally.
It is.
Now
I
on
like
4K gaming.
I don't need that even.
My brother-in-law has a laptop with a 4K screen on it.
I don't get that.
And it's not a very large laptop. I have a 1080 on my screen. My laptop screen's 1080 right now, and I feel like it's higher resolution than it needs to be. So I don't know why they would even bother with a 4K laptop screen. I guess because people like my brother-in-law would pay for it.
You increase the amount of processing power you need so much by having to support a resolution like that, and on a laptop.
You don't get any payoff. Yeah.
Jeez. But you know what? I'm generally pleased with how things look and play now. I just want some higher frame rates maybe, and then I'm basically good to go.
Doom is actually not running very well.
Did you update the drivers, or did you just wait for the thing to go away?
I waited until after I played it to update the drivers, so it'll probably help. But even then,
Have you done it yet?
I haven't played it since I updated it.
Okay, that was night and day for me.
Oh really? Okay,
like
so
seriously, that took me from about 30 average to 90 plus average. Like it's
really? Okay.
Honestly absurd how much it helped me.
I was really surprised because I know it runs really well. I think it runs at 60 on the consoles. And
yeah,
I was thinking, like, well, my PC's better than the consoles.
It's only drivers, or unless you have a very specific to you kind of problem, it's the drivers.
I don't think so. Yeah, and I also need to lower some of the settings probably. From
I didn't have
settings,
to.
But...
I didn't have to.
Okay.
I had to lower them to medium to make it like playable before I updated
I think
the
that's
drivers.
what they're at right now.
And then I updated the drivers, ultra, no problems. Really,
yeah, okay.
it's the drivers.
Bad. I didn't have my FPS counter up, but it was noticeably bad frame rate, and like it would get worse in sections and stuff. And that's really bad when you have like a fast-paced game like that. So
I forget what it's called. It's not Mantle. What? It's some kind of API that they have. It's not DirectX. They have some super specific graphics API.
I heard about. I saw it in the driver.
Yeah.
Is it Ansel?
That sounds true. Let's go with that.
Ansel technology?
Yeah, whatever it is, it seems to not just be complete horseshit. It seems to be an actual technology that's actually really impressive.
Well, either way, I'll probably be spending an obscene amount of money pretty soon on a new graphics card anyway, so that I can spend even more money on the VR headset. God. I think I'm gonna make
Vulcan. I think that's what it's called.
Vulcan. Okay, yeah. I heard about that too.
Hunter in the chat said it.
I was reading the Dirt Rally forums, and the developer said, "What features would you like to be added to Dirt Rally?" And all the responses were Vulcan, and I was like, "What the fuck is Vulcan?" I thought it was like some Linux thing.
It's honestly insanely impressive what they're able to do with that technology in Doom.
Okay.
The performance for the visuals that they get out of that, nothing like it. Very impressive tech.
All right.
It has always managed to blaze the trail in
Doom 3
tech.
As disappointing of a game it was for the community at large, the whole thing about that game was like how incredible the graphics were at the time. That was like the dawn of like the Unreal Engine being like this crazy thing that people couldn't believe. I guess it was on Unreal. It looked like an Unreal game.
It wasn't Unreal because it was
like that era.
But it was like it took something that managed to rival it. Probably
they all had like that look, like that look of the
shiny.
I guess like the 2007 to 2010 era of like overly shiny textures that like they're trying to like emphasize the bump mapping of the textures, and it didn't look good. I didn't even think it looked very good then. It was like, okay, it's cool that the computer can do this, but
it's not great looking. I think that one of the games that has stood up amazingly well is Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
Half-Life 2 still looks fantastic.
The textures are the only thing that like really stand out as being like, oh god, those are old textures. But I mean the Source engine, of course, it's a great engine. I remember being blown away seeing Half-Life 2 for the first time.
That was when I played Half-Life 2 for the first time. That rocked my world
Yeah, it was a big
of
moment
what
for me, too.
a game could do
I
with
messed
its
for
presentation.
hours. I messed around in the original Gary's mod.
Gary's mod blew me away. Like,
Yeah,
just
like,
spawning a
messing with
bunch
it,
of enemies and
you could spawn like lights and like
oh
change the
yeah,
lights and like look how the light
and the
affects the models and
God,
there's ragdolls and it's so neat. Yeah, big
God,
moment.
those games, amazing. Absolutely love those. And I want to plug once again, real quick, Goose Goose's commentary on Half-Life 2. If you've heard, I'm not talking to you because I know you have heard of it, but if the folks at home have heard Matthew Matosis, you've heard Mr. B-Tongue, you've heard these jokers, these hacks who...
Two packs.
They didn't do it first. That style of taking a very close analytical look at a game. I guess this is less Mr. B-Tongue and more Matthew Matosis, where he's breaking down a game piece by piece and looking at everything in detail. That was first done by Goose Goose. He was he must be in his 40s now, because he mentioned being like in his mid-30s at the time that he made it, which was like 10 years ago. So he mentioned, I couldn't tell if I don't know if it's a joke or not, but he mentioned being like a painter. It's hard to read him, but very, very interesting videos.
Painters, you know what? Painters have a lot of time to think.
They do.
You know, you're sitting there just. What are you gonna do? You're gonna think about Half-Life 2.
And
maybe record yourself while you're painting it. It's not like it makes a lot of noise.
And what he thought about Half-Life 2 was they were great thoughts. He has these nice little names for everything in the game. Like he calls the Metro Police, he calls them the Filth. He just calls them that, and it's a great commentary. He did one for Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Episode 2, and they're all great. And those videos inspired the close commentary style of video. So I think that a lot of, especially Matthew Matosis, owe a lot to Goose Goose, and it's worth watching how the OG did it.
I can't wait to hear his thoughts on Half-Life 2 Episode 3.
He will probably be dead by the time that comes
We
out.
all will be.
Yes, yeah. The human race will have been dead.
The copyright's going to run out on the Half-Life name, and then some.
No, it's okay. Disney's still around. The copyright will be extended. 1,000 years past the death of the original author. Well,
right.
I think that's our show, Skippy.
That was a show.
It was a show. It was a show that we are glad you tuned into, and it's a show I'm glad Skippy tuned into 2 hours early. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back next week. God bless. Much love. Herb. Good night.